There are basic truths religious leaders won't tell you. Why did I say religious leaders? I said religious leaders because they are the first set of people we run to each time we have one challenges or the other. But the truth of the matter is that there are so many challenges we face in life. The religious leaders are actually the last set of people we should meet in such issues. Now let's get started. You see, as you grow, your expenses increases, your bills increases. So if your current job cannot take care of your current bills, don't bother starting a prayer and fasting session. Don't even think about going to a church for one deliverance from one evil spirit or the other. It's absolutely not necessary. You see, we have unintentionally turned most pastors, evangelists, priests, and even prophets to a career counselor, a business coach. But that is not their primary function. In fact, they have no business with issues such as that. Why wasting your resources, your energy, going to places like that? My advice is, don't waste your resources going to places like that to seek for solution of this nature. Because in reality, the money you spend in places like this can actually afford a month's meal for you and your family. So why not eat? Have enough strength and energy for the task ahead. When you discover your expenses are getting higher every day and you're not meeting up, I think the best thing to do is for you to meet a career counselor. Meet a business coach, not a pastor, a prophet, or an evangelist. Or going to meet one or two spiritualists for one prayer or the other. It's not necessary. You meet a business counselor, meet a business coach. If your income is not able to take care of your expenses, then obviously something is wrong somewhere. Now, what could that be? Take a look at this. If you are an employee and your salary is not able to take care of your current expenses, obviously it means you are actually growing up. You are growing up every day. And the more you wake up every day, the more responsibility comes. Then if your salary cannot meet your expenses, what do? My brother, change your job. Change your job to a more suitable job that can take care of your personal needs, that can take care of your expenses. Or better still, if the job is very difficult to come by, then you have to look for an extra job that can fetch you an extra means of income. At least it can fetch you extra income. That's what some people do. On the other hand, if you are a business person, if you're self-employed and your business is not able to take care of your expenses, then the next thing to do, just like the salary worker we talked about, you change your business, you reinvent your business. You can choose to look for loan to expand your business. Now, let me tell you this. People complain that I was richer yesterday than I am today. Now, the question you should ask yourself, what was I doing yesterday and what am I doing today? You need to understand that your expenses as a bachelor and your expenses as a married man cannot be the same. Your expenses when you're living in your dad's house and your expenses when you have moved out of your daddy's house, it's not the same. They can never be the same. It's not possible. So when you're complaining that my yesterday was better than today, look at what you were doing yesterday. Look at your position yesterday and look at the position where you are at the moment. Don't expect your expenses as a bachelor to be equal to your expenses as a married man. It doesn't work like that in the real world. You see, in marriage, 1 plus 1 is 2. And if you have a child alongside with it, 2 plus 1 is 3. You see, when they say 1 plus 1 is 1 in marriage, they are trying to explain something to you, but that will leave that for another day. So in reality and in marriage, 1 plus 1 is 2. And if you have a child, like I said, 2 plus 1 becomes 3. And you must feed these 3 entities. These 3 entities must eat to survive. So a situation where you are feeding yourself alone with your small business and you're doing great, you can afford a bottle of beer and all the rest of them. When you are married, your expenses adjust. And if you're still doing business as usual, the way you were doing it, don't expect that same business to feed these 3 people the way it used to feed you and you still have extra change in your pocket. It won't work that way. When people begin to have issues like this, the next thing they do, they begin to feel there's one evil spirit against them. And maybe there's one man in the village, there's one woman in the village that is against them. No, nobody is against you. Nobody is fighting you. Nobody is fighting your income. It's just that your expenses has increased and your business or your salary remains the same. You have to understand that your expenses yesterday and your expenses today cannot be the same. Today have its own realities. Today have its own challenges. So you definitely have to do something that can accommodate today's realities. You have to do something that can take care of today's challenges. If not, today's challenges will definitely weigh you down and you start seeking for solutions in places where you're not supposed to go to. So when issues like this comes up, you have to apply an approach that can take care of or address today's reality or today's challenges. Listen, nobody is fighting you from your village. The truth is that you actually don't want to hear the truth because reality could be so disappointing. So it's much more easier for you to blame people for not meeting up. They tell you it's your mother in the village that is responsible for your misfortune. They tell you it's your mother-in-law that is responsible for your misfortune. You accept, you believe it instantly. Why? Because you don't want to blame yourself. You just need somebody to blame. And the person that is telling you these things have to blame somebody so that something can come out of your pocket. If they don't blame somebody, how would you bring money to spend to solve that problem? They must create they must create the origin of the problem so that you will spend to solve that problem. And after spending to solve that problem, the issues remain the same. So that is why I tell you, they will never tell you the truth. Instead, they will have to blame somebody. And you will have to believe it as well because you don't want to blame yourself. You don't want to see yourself as not really the cause of the problem, as not taking necessary steps to address the realities on ground. You see, life is like a football pitch with over 22 players in the field, including the referee. And you have just 90 minutes to play the game. And guess what? This is where it gets more interesting and exciting because the ball cannot be with you in the full 90 minutes. You can't be with the ball in the full 90 minutes. It is either you pass the ball to your teammates or you risk losing it to your opponent. Now, I want you to pick something here, and that is you have to be people-oriented. Why I say you should be people-oriented? Now, when you have the ball and you refuse to pass to your teammate, and eventually you lose the ball to your opponent, what happens? Your team begins to struggle to get the ball back. And eventually, when the ball comes back to your team, to your circle, what happens? If your teammate refuses to pass the ball to you, you end up saying people are wicked, whereas you are the one playing the devil in the story. Life is very simple, but humans makes it extremely difficult. Now let's go back to the football pitch again. If your opponent or when your opponent they are on the offensive, what would your team do? Your team will have to fall back and re-strategize. The same thing is applicable in a real life situation. When your expenses increases and you discover that your salary or your business cannot take care of your immediate expenses, what do? You fall back, you plan again and replan. So I will leave you with this word from Confucius. Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail. My name is Mr. 14, and you're going to be seeing me often.